Sick Harrison Price for Friday, September 26, 2025, coming to you from the Toyota Pacific Dealers Studio right here at the historic Wall Center. In this show, a presentation of Bet365. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sick Harrison alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mike Rogerson hitting switches and conducting things. When I was introducing Mike to a bunch of new people last week in Penticton, they were saying, "Oh, you're the guy with all the Junos."
He's a rock star everywhere he goes.
And then one of our friends from Yellow Dog said to me, "Who has Mike worked with in the world of music?" And I said, "It's a shorter list in terms of who he hasn't worked with in the world of music." Just don't ask him about some of these stars behind the scenes and how they behave. It's like, don't meet your heroes.
The Riders. Mm-hmm. No green M&Ms. Or only
I like that
M&Ms.
new commercial, bubbly water, no bubbles. All right, we got a big show for you here today as the Vancouver Canucks finally take the ice at Rogers Arena in the preseason. First game in the home barn. Plenty going on, including our first look at the new beefier 6 kilos, Elias Pettersson in game action. And that brings us to the Redwoods golf course poll question.
I think my goal is just,
Look at that. We're
show
going to
people
listen
that,
to something already, are we? Okay. We'll get to that in a second. Is it important for Elias Pettersson to have a good preseason? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sick Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. Blake Price, what says you?
I'm going to look at the verbiage. Is it important to have a good preseason? Not one game we're not talking about bottom line necessarily. And the answer is yes. And again, I'm saying good preseason in a very vague sort of way. I'm not saying he needs 2 goals, 2 assists for in the preseason. But yeah, I do think he needs to show something. I don't think this guy gets the benefit of the doubt from his coaches and certainly from the fans that he can flick the switch come opening night and be the $11 million man that they need, all caps, him to be. There are a lot of players that don't need good preseasons. The Sedin twins never at least the last 10 years of their career needed a good preseason. They didn't. They'd earned the right to flick the switch.
I agree with that.
This guy does not. So I understand that it is a long season, but really they ain't got time to bleed. They need Elias Pettersson from game number 1. And for him, that only happens if he looks good right now.
Do you think so, though?
Yeah, I don't think he can flick the switch.
Because here's where I'm struggling with the poll question. I put almost no stock into preseason performance. It may matter for an 18-year-old trying to make the team. We'll talk Braeden Cootes here in a second. So I have trouble. I would feel hypocritical, Blake, if I said, yeah, I got to see a big preseason from Elias Pettersson. When really I put very little, if any, stock into preseason for veteran NHL players. I think there is a world where he can look blasé through the preseason and be a good player on opening night and have a good season. You're very much on a do something vein this week. I don't know how many players you've said I need them to do something. I mean, you're almost stealing Jeff's catchphrase
like
here.
A guy like JT Miller back in the day, very enigmatic. If he had for preseason, crappy preseason,
Mm-hmm.
I would have no problems with that whatsoever because he is a flick the switch guy. In fact, he relies on the switch a little too much. He flicks it off.
It's a big switch.
He flicks it off as much as he flicks it on.
It's a lot of flicking.
So that wouldn't bother me at all. But there are other guys in other situations where and again, this is not counting stats here. I'm talking about Evander Kane. Like if Evander Kane sleepwalks, you don't notice him once in the preseason. You saying you're going to feel really good about that on opening night for Evander Kane? I don't know.
No,
this guy didn't play at all last season.
Well, until the playoffs, yeah.
Dropped in amongst a team on an absolute heater through the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I needs to show me something.
Kane's a unique circumstance a little bit too, and we'll get into this with J-Pat later. I can understand a 34-year-old coming off all those injuries and surgeries pacing himself. I also understand that this management group really believes in practice and preparation.
Yep.
And those habits. And so, from that point of view, you could vote yes on Patterson on every player. They need to get off to a good start, as you said. Foot has called him a culture guy. And, of course, like as we said, when they made the trade, Evander's playing for his next contract, right? Like he's in the final year of his deal. And I think he's going to have a good season to avoid being in the, Jack Roslovic, that sort of bucket of player who, okay, you've had production in the NHL, but you're really not a coveted guy in free agency. We'll see about that.
Guys like DeBrusk and Besser, I'm sort of the opposite. I wouldn't mind them scoring a goal just so they've had that feeling of scoring the goal and lighting the lamp. But overall, if they're pretty invisible but have a power play goal each, zero concern. Zero concern. Like, there's not a lot of concerns for them. They did what they were supposed to do last season. They have nothing to prove. Mm-hmm. The guys with something to prove should probably start to tick those boxes and prove something now.
What I am interested in with Elias, and I'm not sure if this is going to come to the fore today. It might come to the fore in a more pronounced way in that final preseason game next week. And I say that in part because, we'll see who Seattle dresses tonight. And I don't think he's going to let us in on this, but I am interested in terms of carrying the extra weight, some 12, 13 pounds. How does that manifest? Frankie Corrado told us he thought that should mean he's more explosive. But there are other examples of guys who muscle up a little in the summer and feel a little draggy, feel a little sluggish. They haven't quite adapted to having to skate with the new weight.
Well, they added 6 kilos, but really 4 kilos is where they should be, so it takes them a month into the season for them to lose
something
the 2
like
kilos, and
so
then they find the sweet spot.
I would like to see, Elias, does he have some bursts, those first couple of steps? What about the long speed? Are there any occasions where he's got to, really get on his horse and skate fast to retrieve a puck or to join a rush or something like that?
Is he shot happy or pass happy? Because he was way more pass happy last year.
So I'm interested in all of that. But we use the word important. And no, I don't think it's important. So I'm voting no.
Okay.
You will abide that, dear sir?
Well, you're allowed to. It's a free country. You can vote however you want. Okay. You are free to be wrong.
You're not wrong. You're just not as right as me.
Somebody in the
Super chat?
Somebody had just said on the Devin. I voted no, as I prefer PD to do well on opening night. Well, of course, everybody.
They're not mutually exclusive. You can have both.
Exactly. And what I'm saying, Devin, I guess, is that I feel like one would help set up that if he has a good preseason, again, not goals and assists, folks, just shows you speed. Oh, shooting more. He had 4 shots in 2 of the 4 games that he played. I think one begets the other. So that's why I'm voting yes.
I think you should beget a lesson at Redwoods Golf Course. Or if you have a child age 6 to 16, sign them up for a private or semi-private junior lesson. They're available and flexible to your schedule. They will be conducting more junior golf camps going forward. The current ones are all sold out. Big demand out there at Redwoods, and you can understand why. They have the beautiful, large, heated, covered driving range. They've got a practice fairway bunker, plus the chipping and putting greens. Set your child up for the sport of a lifetime. Go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Dressy rehearsal. If not the full meal deal of an opening night lineup, hint, and I suspect we will see that in the preseason finale, the Canucks are giving fans something to watch tonight in the first preseason game at Rogers Arena, and their third of the preseason schedule. It will be half over after tonight. If you're not familiar, we have reduced from 8 to 6 preseason games, 8-7-6 preseason games. The top line of Jake DeBrusk with Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser will be on hand, as will the top defense pair, Captain Quinn Hughes and Filip Chytil. So will a number of hopefuls be skating here tonight, looking to stake their claim to jobs when the season gets going for real on October 9th. So here's how they'll line up versus the Kraken: DeBrusk, Pettersson, Besser. Evander Kane with Braeden Cootes and Jonathan Lekramaki. So the uber veteran Kane dragging around a couple of rookies on his line. I shouldn't say dragging.
They might be pushing him in terms of speed. We'll see.
Vitaly Kravtsov, here's a guy who's got, I think, something at stake tonight. Blake, he hasn't looked great thus far. His return from the KHL. He is a candidate to be on the opening night roster, if not lineup, especially with the Nils Hoglander injury. More on that in a moment. He'll skate with Bluger and Sherwood, so that's very much a can you hang on our third or fourth line, however you want to stack them. And then Aatu Ratu with the big Swede, Vilmer Ulriksson, prospect, and Danila Klimovich. More on Ratu in a bit. Kudryavtsev with Pierre-Olivier Joseph, and D-Petey with Willander. Tom, the rookie first-rounder, also trying to make this team. The three goaltenders at 3. Kevin Lankinen, Nikita Tolopilo, Aku Koskinvo. Among those hopefuls, of course, rookie first-rounder Braeden Cootes, just 18 years old. He wants to give the coaching staff more to think about.
I think my goal is just, show people that, I can maybe play here, make, the coaches be like, oh, maybe he's got a shot, make a little noise there. Anytime I go to a camp, I'm trying to make the team. That's just who I am. I'm a competitive person, not just going there for an experience, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all he can say right now. I like the answer. Anytime I'm at a camp, I'm trying to make the team.
Yep.
I think we've heard other prospects. I don't know if he said this of, I'd love to get that 8-game look. Like there's some guys are a little more realistic about what it is. I haven't heard
they often don't say that.
I saw it this year. I forget who it was. Somebody actually voiced it this year.
Yeah. They more talk about making the team and then let the chips fall. And then, as you get close to 8-9 games, people are like, oh, do you think you can hang around? And they say, well, I'd really like to. I want to be an NHL player. Of course, you want that NHL money, too. He's already impressing his teammates. Here's Evander Kane, who will play on his left wing tonight on Cootes.
Yeah, you know what? He's 18 years old, young guy that's come in and worked really hard, and obviously has a great skill set, lots of speed, eager to learn and try to absorb as much information and get comfortable as quick as he can at the NHL level, and not even more on the ice but off the ice, I think, too. Just getting comfortable with dealing with men, with families, and guys that have been around long. I remember when I was an 18-year-old, that was a bit of an adjustment, just, figuring out, your peers are maybe just a few years younger than your dad. So, it's a little different.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah. Hey, boys, where are we going out tonight? Well, actually, I'm going home. The 3-year-old has bath time, and the 5-year-old is bedtime, goodnight reading, and the 8-year-old wants to watch some of the.
And I'd like to get a tight 9 tonight. Like you need more sleep as you get older.
Right. We saw a example of this back, if you remember, the Hockey Wives reality show that followed around the fiance of Brandon Prust for that one season when he was with the Canucks, and Jake Virtanen called, "Hey, where are we going out tonight?" That was the problem with Brandon Prust. He was an older player, but he was shepherding those youngsters.
Also makes me hearken to the Celebrini sleepover with Toffoli last year.
Mm-hmm. Adorable.
Brought in the old guy for a sleepover.
What were you telling me? Celebrini's sister, Charlie, is on a Davis Cup team?
On a not Davis Cup, but another tennis cup team. Billie Jean Billie Jean Jr. team,
Yeah. If you don't know, Macklin and Aiden Celebrini, of course, Aiden a Canuck prospect, Macklin with San Jose. Their sister is a very high-level tennis player, and their little brother, RJ, is, if you talk to the family,
heck
they
of a
will
player,
say,
too. Yeah.
At his age, he is as good or better than the other two. He's an impressive young man. I've already got a chance to meet him. Okay, so it's Evander Kane's first game as a Vancouver Canuck in a Canuck sweater. As we mentioned, word is he's pacing himself so far in camp. We'll see who Seattle is dressing here, Blake, but as you know, you often have some cowboys on NHL preseason ice who want to go out there and just get noticed by the coaching staff, even if it's doing really dumb shit like hitting a guy the wrong way or wanting to start a fight, unnecessarily a sideshow fight. So I do wonder whether Evander Kane has to be a bit of a protector tonight for the 18-year-old Braeden Cootes and, of course, the very slight Jonathan Lekramaki. On that right wing, getting more run on what is the de facto second line. Chytil would be in the middle there. Chytil has been in the middle, but he's played the first 2 preseason
The other rub
games.
that's possible, Matt, is that Evander Kane is the target because a guy that has some metal on him on the Kraken wants to prove to his coach that he's got sandpaper, and I'm going to elbow,
I'm
Evander
going to
Kane.
take on the biggest, toughest hombre on the other side. Okay,
it would probably behoove Evander Kane to just, avoid that right now. Like the Canucks don't need a broken-handed Evander Kane.
No.
As he defends against an AHL fighter, in the preseason.
Well, yes. I didn't necessarily mean fight for them. I just meant...
I know.
No, especially after the injury to Nils Hoglander. Which brings me back to Lekramaki, Blake. And he hasn't stood out yet. He has blended in more. The object here is to stand out, not blend in. I do wonder if Hoglander isn't hurt if Lekramaki gets this opportunity again. I do wonder whether the coaching staff is looking at it going, okay, some goals are coming out of the lineup with Nils Hoglander. And, if you want to say, it was only 8 goals last year, fine. It was 24 the year before Blake and I had the debate. But even if he's a 15 to 20 goal scorer and has lost week to week, we'll get into this in a second, for a Canucks team that is not chock-a-block with great offensive skill, you do wonder whether the coaching staff and the organization is going, oh, please, Jonathan, show something. Give us a little bit of confidence that we can drop you into the top 6 or the top 9 at the beginning of the season, and you can help give us some goals because Hoglander's out and because he needs scoring anyways. So... I think it's a big night for Jonathan Lekramaki. I think these next, and we'll see about Sunday and who plays Sunday, but it's a big weekend for Jonathan Lekramaki.
And once again, I'll go back to the counting stats. I don't even need that from Jonathan Lekramaki, as much as that would help his case, I think. Shoot the puck 4 times.
Put 4 really good attempts on goal.
Yeah. That's your
game,
butter.
son.
That's your.
I remember years ago we had Ray on the show. Like, this is a long time ago. When Phil Kessel was a young player in Boston, playing on the 4th line, and Ray had done the game, and he saw Kessel basically be like get way deep on the defensive zone, get to the red line, dump it in, basically play how an NHL fourth liner is, and things had been going well for him. And Ray said they had a conversation in the tunnel, and he said to him, like, Phil, at some point you just have to play your game, play your style, do what you're good at. Like, don't try and be something you're not. Shoot the puck. Get in dangerous areas offensive. I sort of feel the same about Lekramaki.
That's why coaching's an art. Like, yeah, you want to put guardrails up and bare minimums for players to do X, Y, and Z. But players also have to be themselves. And they have put themselves in these positions by playing a certain way. And do you want to perfect them and mold them into the best they can be? Yes, but they also still need to remain with what brought them here. And Lekramaki, he needs to use Jonathan Lekramaki skills tonight, not Adam Foote skills.
Elias Pettersson with Tom Willander, the all-young Swedish defense pair. We wholly expect EPD to make the team. We suspect Tom Willander will start in the American League. Mm-hmm. But looks like they've tried to prod EPD a little bit here with some of the assignments and sending him to the prospect showcase. Tom Willander coming off a strong game Wednesday in Abbotsford. We'll see if the rookie first rounder from Boston University can.
Man, I think it'd be really fun if they had a good game.
Oh, I think so.
Like, I think that would be a fun.
Well, I just love
wrinkle.
The makings of this pair. The more defensive guy on the right side, a guy who's a terrific skater and can play with the puck some on the right side, Willander. So, I think I said it yesterday or the day before. I fully expect that will be a second pair for the Vancouver Canucks in pretty short order.
Well, I mean, if it is, things have worked out tremendously.
Not this season, but
yeah,
over the next couple of years, I think that is absolutely going. So long as they don't trade them, because I think those are the two guys that you may have to move to get your second line center. One of those two.
Well,
but we'll see.
I mean, that's the best case scenario for the Canucks is actually that Willander, Mancini, and EPD all hit, because if they all hit.
Then you have defense depth to trade for a second.
Yeah, one of those guys doesn't have to be here then, and he becomes something else.
Aatu Räty with AHL line mates. He hasn't looked great so far. I wonder if the line mates here, the wingers Ulrichsen and Klimovich, are a reflection of what they think of him to date. Blake, I think this is also one of the problems when you gift a not yet NHL regular a roster spot, as the Vancouver Canucks have done with Aatu Räty. When they failed to land that second line center, and of course Jim Rutherford's comment, more expensive not to, a lot of us focused on Filip Chytil because he would have to be the 2C. But of course there's a domino effect from there. And the domino effect was when you failed to land that guy, you basically told Aatu Räty, you're on the team. If you had gotten that player, suddenly Räty is in a battle with Teddy Bluger to be the Canucks' fourth line center. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, with veteran players who I know are on the team, I'm really not all that concerned. With players of this profile, I think at some point in preseason you need to have a showing that gives your bosses confidence that you're the guy for the spot.
Okay, but which comes first?
There's a lot of fans who want to make him the third line center, and I get that, and I think in time he is going to be the third line center. But if you stink it up in preseason and in camp,
I don't think he stunk it up.
Well, he hasn't stunk it up.
He's got an assist already. He's got a point in 2 games.
Okay.
And he's been given the worst of the assignments. Like his lines have been the least accredited lines.
Yeah, but is there a reason for that?
Which came first, chicken or the egg?
I don't know.
He was given that, so he hasn't looked great, or he hasn't looked great, so he was given that. I don't know.
Yeah. I just found it interesting is that it looked like they were challenging and prodding EPD a little bit. I'm not sure they've done the same with Räty. In part because I'm not sure they can do the same with Räty. It is not as competitive a position group.
Well, that's it. That's it. Like, eventually you just have to give APD a decent assignment because there's only so many bodies that are possible to go around, only so many combinations. At the forward set, there's a bunch of Abbey Canucks that are all vying in that pond, and somebody's got to play with them.
Yeah. 3 goaltenders tonight, including Kevin Lankinen's preseason debut after welcoming a child with his better half this week, plus Aku Koskinvo, now a pro after his career at Harvard. It's going to be, I suspect they all get a period if you're dressing 3 goaltenders. Or is Tolopilo just there in case because he's played some?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not dressing 3 goals.
Thatcher Demko, a full. Well, they have it listed as dressing 3 goalies, Blake.
I would bet only. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen that for an exhibition game. Have you?
No. I mean, I don't pay enough attention to remember.
So. No, they 3 participated in the game day skate, but I don't think we're seeing 3 goalies tonight.
Thatcher Demko was a full participant in the non-skating group today. Or non-playing group, I should say. They skated, so no worries about his maintenance day yesterday. We said, look, no worries yesterday, but if he's not skating Friday, Thatcher Demko and maintenance day in the same sentence are shoots that shiver of fear down the spine of Canucks fan.
No, it's really good.
He was participating fully with the non-playing group.
Stand down, everyone. I'm so glad that's not our show today.
So am I.
Can you imagine?
Our friend Balraj DM'd me earlier this week, longtime audience member. And he said, Matt, I'm going to be in Penticton for Thursday Night Football. I want to watch the game. You got to go to Yellow Dog with the screen setup they have there.
Oh, yeah. Great
Absolutely
place.
Extraordinary. We watched a ton of sports there on, Thursday, Friday night last week. Glorious.
Many different TVs for many different TV. What a great September of sports it's been, huh? Dogtoberfest, too, when you do descend on any of the Yellow Dog locations, but whether it's Port Moody or Penticton. If you're in Penticton, great menu items. And, of course, there's the brews. If you want German-inspired, they have that. You want the more customary West Coast IPAs, et cetera, you've got that, too. Go check them out. And it's on from September 18th to October 17th, so still plenty of time. Dogtoberfest has only just begun.
Played golf this week with a nice German couple, and when the cart girl came around, I went up for a beverage. I said, no, we're okay. I said, hold on. You're German. It's Oktoberfest or on the verge. We got to get a beer, right?
They said no. 9.
Today we learned that Nils Hoglander is week to week after leaving that preseason tilt Wednesday in Abbotsford with a lower body injury. He's in a walking boot and on crutches. Here's assistant coach Brett McLean on the Hoglander injury.
He's week to week with a lower body injury.
It's pretty tough for him, but it surely opens up a spot for someone else. What are you guys thinking in terms of how to fill in that spot for the time?
Yeah, again, that's what we've said all along, that competition is very high at this camp, and some players have played really well to this point, and so we'll just let that competition play out. But yeah, it opens up a spot for someone here. So there's some guys that should be excited about that opportunity, but obviously we want to get Hoagie back as soon as we can.
Who most stands to benefit from the new open spot created via the Hoglander injury?
I mean, I think you just have to go to...
PJ said Cootes yesterday. I would disagree with that a little bit. I think more an individual winger. In fact, after I see where Lekramaki's stationed again today, I do wonder if they want it to be him.
Yeah, I mean, because he hasn't looked great, I think he gets a boost. He gets the power boost. I think.
Plus, you've got a much bigger stake in him than you do in our Steve Baines or Vitaly Kravtsov. Those are found wallets. Lekramaki, there's an investment.
And the ceiling is higher with Lekramaki.
Oh, way higher.
So
way higher.
I think that's assuming Carlson's on the team. Carlson and Ratu are already on the team, I think. So.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, yeah, then you're looking at a guy who needed something to go his way. And Matt, if you are him, do you recognize that lifeline? Back to tonight's appearance for Lekramaki. Like, does he see this and go, okay, just
how can he not?
Fate has handed me an even bigger opening.
Yes.
I've got to walk through it. They don't like to put extra pressure on themselves. And I think they so cocoon themselves from from these sorts of moments. They don't want to fall victim to.
They know, though, in the deepest.
I think they do as well.
Recesses.
Yeah.
This is also where, if you're unsure and you're the agent, you call him up and say, hey, son, there is a really, really big carrot here. on the end of that stick.
Go get him.
Yep. How about this? Canucks announced today they are excited to welcome 14-year NHL veteran Victoria's Tyson Barrie, just recently retired, to the regional home broadcast. He'll do intermissions on television starting this evening. He's been an excellent talker over the course of his NHL career, a go-to guy in different dressing rooms over the years, whether it was Colorado, Toronto, Nashville most recently. I saw him on Spitting Chicklets last week where he told a pretty funny story about being a healthy scratch more often than not in the playoffs and then getting a late call, being told he has to dress after an afternoon where he may have had a glass of Chardonnay or so, thinking he wasn't going to dress. So he's a character. We'll see if it all comes out. I mean, look, early on in the television game, you're probably just trying to get everything right. But I think in time, he could be a very welcome addition to those broadcasts. Particularly, and I say this about every new analyst on television or every recently retired athlete who makes the transition into media. Like I had a couple of friends this week very excited that Kyle Lowry is joining one of the NBA crews in their new broadcast world. And I said, that's great. He was a wonderful communicator as a player. But what's made Charles Barkley is probably the pinnacle, right, of that ex-athlete. You can't be afraid. You have to call it as you see it. Like, it can't be about protecting old teammates and buddies and not wanting to say something.
Remember Tortorella 1.0?
Yeah.
Remember when Tortorella first got given the microphone? Horrific. The most vanilla BS because he just wasn't ready to be himself. So hopefully he is. If he is himself, this is a real addition to the broadcast, no doubt. But my takeaway is also, and this is in the wake of the LA Kings press release from a week ago, and Ray was announced to be a part of that. These massive rosters, there's quivers of talent. It used to be you had 3 guys for every single, a host, 2 guys in the booth, and maybe a separate intermission guest. Maybe it's 4 guys for the season. I think there's 12 people on the LA Kings press release, and now the Canucks one continues to grow.
One of the things that they are running into, and this is the case across a lot of sports, is that your recently retired athlete doesn't need your money.
No.
Doesn't need a second career, right?
Doesn't want to commit to
100 days of work, or 82 or whatever you're asking them to commit to. We'll ask John Shannon about this.
Well, and also, Matt, they also don't, and none of these companies, whether it's the broadcasting companies in Canada or the teams in the United States, none of them want employees. They all want contract workers.
Yeah. The other thing, and we'll ask this of John Shannon next week when we have him on, have you heard what the Ryder Cup is doing with this broadcast? So for years and years, the Ryder Cup would have Dan Hicks and Johnny Miller in your main booth. Both American, and if you're from Canada or from somewhere outside the United States, it was always clear that Hicks and Miller were rooting for the United States. In fact, I remember that great comeback they had at Medina, the Europeans, that one year, and Hicks and Miller were so focused on the U.S. that they had sort of lost track of the story that, no, the comeback is on here, and it's going to be successful if all these matches fall as they looked. So what NBC has done with this Ryder Cup is they're going to dispense with the notion that their analysts are impartial. They've got Brad Faxon on the U.S. side. They have former Ryder Cup player and captain, winning in both cases, Paul McGinley on the European side. And they're basically saying, go forward and call it from the point of view of your teams with the pom-poms out. Use the word we. All of those things will have balance because we have one analyst on each side. And then Hicks can call the golf right down the middle, or as best he can, and we'll have cheerleaders for both sides.
And maybe a possibility of a heated debate at some point, too.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
Oh, this is bad news if you're the Florida Panthers or a hockey fan. It may not be bad news if you're against the 2-time defending reigning Stanley Cup champions and want to see their dynasty crumble. Sasha Barkov could be lost for the season. Mm-hmm. He got injured in practice. It's going to be a very long time. They stopped short of saying season ending, but
he's under the knife, like maybe still as we
surgery.
Speak. Today he is. Yeah.
And folks, something you should be aware of, and we'll talk more and more about this as we get towards the March trade deadline. The salary cap applies in the Stanley Cup playoffs now.
And the LTIR rule applies this year.
Right.
Both do.
So this from Puckpedia. If Barkov might return this year, the Panthers can exceed the cap by up to $3.8 million for his injury. If
last year's league average.
If he's medically declared out for the full regular season and playoffs, they can exceed the cap by his full $10 million, and then he's ineligible to play this season or the playoffs. This is a massive change from years before, and it is done, and I think it is good because God knows, Blake, we were amongst those crying foul.
Yep.
When the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers basically devised a way to go $15, $18, $20 million over the cap by putting guys on LTIR for that final quarter of the season, adding big money players at the trade deadline, then dropping those players, Mark Stone in Vegas comes to mind, back into their lineup for the first playoff game and effectively playing with a roster that was way over what the National Hockey League salary cap was and what it is charged with doing, which is equalizing the playing field in terms of player expenditures. So these are good rules. It's going to make for a really interesting decision here in Florida because you have to think if there's any chance that Barkov can come back and play in the postseason. This is one of the great players in the game right now, the best two-way forward, a guy who has been a part of 2 Stanley Cups and is essential to them finishing the three-peat.
We have not seen the injury. They have not said exactly which route they're going to go down. Is the LTIR for the year or is the LTIR we'll see? I mean, it's almost 7 months to game one. And the modern medicine these days, there are few injuries, and we've already seen it with Achilles. Not even the dreaded Achilles is not a 6-month heal anymore. The people were really quick to say he was done for the season.
It can be quicker, but the dreaded Achilles still can be a year.
It can be.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers, 3 months. So, like, without knowing, who knows? There's just not many knee injuries that are 7-month recoveries.
Yeah.
They're 3 to 6 worst.
Well, no, look, the full reconstruction is still 6 months. If you're ACL, PCL, MCL,
right. So that's catastrophic. That's 6 months.
Yeah.
Still back for game one of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now here, walk me through this. Mm-hmm. Sergei Bobrovsky is 37 years of age. This was brought up earlier. I think Jason Bruff had mentioned this. Probably behooves the Florida Panthers to start to give Daniil Tarasov some looks throughout the course of the season. He was widely viewed as one of the best goalies that has not really been an NHL goalie yet, regularly. If Daniil Tarasov starts to look like a very good goalie, remember, in the playoff, the salary cap, it's a nightly thing. You can only dress for that game a certain amount of millions of dollars. Well, you could just start Daniil Tarasov in a given hockey game. Take out the $10 million of Sergei Bobrovsky, put in another backup, and then whoever you've acquired to replace Sasha Barkov fits into the salary cap just fine. You are on a nightly salary cap. It's about people that play that night.
Well, that's always been the case, though. Yes.
Well, there's no salary cap. It's never been the case. What do you mean?
Oh, okay. Sorry. In the regular season, that's always
in
been
the regular
case.
season. It's roster though. It's not roster.
So, for those who don't know, the salary cap is calculated over the 180 some days that the NHL. So you have to be compliant day to day. So
this is different. It's on a nightly basis. If you don't have him dressed as one of the 2 goalies,
that's right.
He doesn't count on the salary cap.
I saw James Murrow report that earlier.
Yeah,
it's all great. We're 6 months away from that.
No, I'm just saying.
Let's get to the.
You can know what I'm saying. Hear me out here. You can stack your lineup still and be super creative and still make it work.
There are some hacks. Typically, the agents outsmart the league lawyers and find the loopholes.
And again, 37-year-old goalie. Is he still going to be good this year? We'll see.
Yeah. Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta. Fantastic spot to watch all the games home and away. And your spot to pregame or postgame. You were mere steps from the arena and stadium. If you need a venue for a team building or social event, check out Greta, the great street food, the arcade that encircles the bar. Always fun times with lots of options. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We're going to talk to J-Pat here from Rogers Arena, break down everyone who is playing tonight, also point forward to the weekend and next week, of course, when we get closer and closer to setting that roster. And Jeff Merrick's going to join us as well. Missed Jeff last week. Looking forward to talking to him on Luke Hughes, who is still unsigned in New Jersey. You know, Blake's devious Mr. Burns-esque, fingers coming together, Godfather offer for Luke Hughes.
I mean, let me be clear. I still think they should do it. I think there is a snowball's chance in hell.
Yes.
Even a Godfather offer works.
And you're going to want to hear what Merrick has to say about keeping 18-year-olds, and specifically Cootes with this year's Vancouver Canucks team. Plus, we get into all the happenings. Big game for the Lions tonight at BC Place. Big game for the Whitecaps tomorrow in Seattle. And just gargantuan games for the Toronto Blue Jays this weekend against Tampa as they're trying to win the AL East and avoid the wild card. Seattle is already through with a bye. The Mariners did it again last night. Plus, that huge World Cup of Rugby game and a home opener for the ages in Penticton. Got plenty going on this weekend in the world of sports and on today's show. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. And before we get into our bets of the day, want to draw your attention. Mike, do you have, I just sent it to you, sorry, but I just saw it. There is a new proposition bet at Bet365 that I just want to make people aware of. Mike, you should have this on your email. The tab you want to go to is NHL Specials, and then you will see a tab there, Player Next Permanent Team. Blake, Connor McDavid, Next Permanent Team. Edmonton, -160. The Field, +130.
Only +130.
They are taking bets on Connor McDavid's next team, which I can only imagine is a tab the good folks in the Alberta capital are going to avoid at all costs.
That's virtually a pick'em, Matt.
Scary.
I'm not tempted by that. That's virtually pick'em.
You're not taking +130?
No.
You're taking Edmonton at -160?
I just don't know. I think it's 50-50, and that's scary. It's not bringing me in. Unlike the under in the Jays game today.
Oh my God. Yeah, let's get excited about the under. That's a good pitching performance, though.
It's a good pitching matchup.
They'll need that from Bieber.
It's 8 runs, by the way. The Jays can't hit worth a damn. Even in a game last night.
They got 4 runs on 1 hit last night, so.
And even the 6, even that game hits the under. They finally, the Jays finally exploded. Still hit the under.
Still hit the under.
So I'm going
Who's
under
pitching
again.
for Tampa?
My menu won't show up for it right now. I don't know.
Oh, I got it here. Hold on.
I don't know why this does this.
Well, it's Adrian Hauser. He's pretty good. And his numbers might even look better if he wasn't pitching for Chicago earlier in the year. He was on that dreadful White Sox team. Yeah, I like that.
It's not exciting.
No, I know.
This isn't about exciting.
What was it? 0-0 in the 6th inning last night?
It
was 0-0 for a while last
Red Sox didn't get a base runner until the 7th.
Yeah. Huge weekend of sports, and one game that maybe isn't on your radar is down the I-5 tomorrow at Husky Stadium, where the University of Washington hosts the defending, reigning national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. This is the first time the number 1 ranked team in the country has played at Husky Stadium since Pete Carroll's USC Trojans in 2007.
Wowza.
The Huskies have looked great on offense this season behind quarterback DeMond Williams Jr. He's only 5'11". He looks like he might be a CFL guy one day. He's on the BC Lions neg list, Blake. Good job, Ryan Rigmaiden. Look, Ohio State has the lion's share of talent here, but they've turned over a lot of starters from their championship team. It's still early in the season, and Husky Stadium is a very difficult place for the opposition to play. They call it the greatest setting in college football. I was there for the Michigan game last year. 70,000 people. They get awfully loud, those metal benches banging on the seats. So I'm going to take the home team, UW +9, hoping they keep things close, give us a game, and maybe put a threat of upset into the number one team in the country.
The Apple Cup was on TV this year.
Yeah, it's on TV pretty much every year.
I've never happened upon it. I happened upon it.
Here's the thing. So, as you know, the Pac-12 conference disbanded.
Yeah.
UW, Oregon, UCLA, and USC all moved to the Big Ten. Washington State linked up with Oregon State to continue the Pac-12. They'll be joined by a bunch of other Western-based schools going forward. But when UW and Wazoo were in the same conference, they played it late in the Thanksgiving weekend as the rivalry game. But because they're not in the same conference anymore, that date is now
ironclad conference game stuff.
Well, yeah. There are some teams that will play an out-of-conference game that late, but most are rooted in conference play, so it's going to be September every year now, the Apple Cup.
Yeah. It was nice to see it.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. J-Pat, next. So Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center. We welcome in Jeff Patterson from Rogers Arena, our Canucks reporter, of course, the host of RinkWide Vancouver in advance of preseason game number 3. Hi, Jeff. How goes?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to seeing hockey in this building. Was in here yesterday for the team's first practice. I asked Braeden Cootes if yesterday was the first time he had ever skated on Rogers Arena ice. He caught to the fact that the non-playing group from the game in Abbotsford actually skated here on Wednesday. So he's got a couple of practices, and tonight the lights get a little brighter for the 18-year-old who is going to get an opportunity once again here, and a pretty good opportunity, I think, to play with Evander Kane and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey. So he's got some youth on one side. He's got the experience and the veteran savvy on the other, and I said that's essentially the second line for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. So lots of eyeballs. I don't know how many people will be here for a preseason game, but lots of eyeballs on the first-round pick.
Does Cootes benefit the most from this Nils Hoglander injury, Jeff? We found out he's week to week. I'd like your 2 cents on how much that is going to hurt the Canucks in the early going, because as we know, every game is going to be very meaningful on the early on. And then, of course, who benefits the most from his absence in the lineup?
Right, and I know it was reported by Farhan the other night after the game in Abbotsford that Hoglander was seen with a walking boot. I can confirm still in the walking boot, has added crutches to the mix here this morning around the rink. So week to week is always one of those ones you never quite sure, but I think the Vancouver Canucks have to start making some plans here to start the season. They're inside of 2 weeks now from opening night on October the 9th, and it would seem like that timeline is going to push Hoglander beyond the opening night. So, yeah, I mean, right away you think Braeden Cootes. I know Hoglander's a winger. Is there a possibility that Cootes could scoot to the wing? We haven't seen him there, but if he continues to impress, might they be in a position where they want to create an opportunity on the roster for the youngster? After that, then you get to the Abbotsford guys that I thought all acquitted themselves nicely on the same line playing in Abbey the other night. But we know those names, and those guys really were already in a battle for a fourth line spot. So can any of them elevate into a top 6 role for the Vancouver Canucks. And then you've got Vitaly Kravtsov, who's going to play here in this hockey game. He got a little bit of a bump once Hoglander went down the other night out in the Fraser Valley and played with Filip Chytil. And so it's been a pretty quiet camp to this point. I don't think Kravtsov's done an awful lot to set himself apart, but if he wants a chance here, boy, opportunity is knocking. So I think it's the same characters. But, yeah, I think it does probably open the door a little bit more for a guy like Braeden Cootes to start the season here.
Well, it is a top 9 winger role, and I do wonder with Lekkerimäki getting more run again on that second line, if they just feel like they're going to need offense minus Hoglander. We asked on the Redwoods golf course poll question yesterday, they're going to miss him a lot or a little? Like how much pain do you expect the Canucks to have? How big a loss is he in the early going here?
Well, I think the jury is still out on whether it's the 24-goal Hoglander from a couple of seasons ago or the 8-goal guy that kind of slogged through last season, although finished the year strong. The underlying numbers were terrific, but we can't have another year where we're praising him for the underlyings. There has to be a tangible takeaway when he gets into the lineup. So you say top 9. To this point, he has skated with Filip Chytil through a couple of preseason games, and I think they had an eye on Hoglander certainly starting in the top 6. And so Connor Garland could immediately get promoted and, not losing much. In fact, he might be gaining with the way that Hoglander and Garland approach the game and play similar style. So I think that's one route that they could go. As for Lekkerimäki, it feels like it's go time here. Like I've been underwhelmed. I don't want to say disappointed, but I've been underwhelmed to this point through the preseason, through training camp and the scrimmage. There have been some moments. The shot is undeniable, and we've seen the shot from the kid, but we know that about him, right? Now it's time to see what else has he learned after a year of pro hockey over here in North America. Has he rounded out his game? And so you're going to be watching him pretty closely, almost more without the puck and away from the puck than with the puck, because we know what he can do when he's got the puck on his stick in shooting positions, but there's more to hockey than just firing the puck, and most guys at this level can do that. So I think it's still a bit of an uphill climb for Jonathan Lekkerimäki, but again, like I said with Kravtsov, like if he was looking for that door to be cracked open just a little bit more than it was already, this seems like a real chance tonight for Lekkerimäki to put his best foot forward.
Limitless anticipation for the season to come for Elias Pettersson. But, alas, it is just preseason. But it is on TV, the first of the preseason games that are available for people to watch. I mean, for the first time, I think this is the first time I've ever uttered the sentence. I'm moderately curious what the preseason television ratings might be for this one, as people want to make their early assessments here on Elias Pettersson. What's reasonable to expect out of EP40 here tonight?
Well, it feels like, and I have only seen bits and pieces, but it feels like the Seattle Kraken are following sort of this form chart in the National Hockey League as the road team in the first week, sending a less than stellar lineup. And so from that, we saw Filip Chytil take advantage against a bunch of Calgary no-names the other night. I'd like to think that EP40 could follow suit there. I just want some moments. He doesn't have to litter the score sheet. If he does, that's great. It's preseason, so I'm not going to get too worked up about whether he leads the Canucks in preseason scoring. But I want to see the confidence that I saw at times through camp where he would take on guys one-on-one and try to make those moves and beat them. Like that's the guy that lit up the National Hockey League and got to 102 points not that long ago. And we saw last year a player that fought confidence all season long. So, I think he's had a moderately decent camp. He's been invested. He's shown some moments. Obviously, for a guy making what he's making. But like a lot of veterans, they sort of ease their way through the first week. And really, I think it'll be fair to start judging him. They got 2 games left against the Oilers in the preseason. We don't know what kind of lineup Edmonton's going to ice, but hopefully it includes some superstar power on the other side that makes it a little easier to assess what you're looking at from a Canuck perspective. So, for me, I just want to see him flash a few times. He's playing with Besser and DeBrusk. I mean, that is likely to be the top line that opens the season. So you want to make sure that those guys are up and running and at or near top form by the time October 9th rolls around. We're still a ways away from that. So, again, I don't need Elias Pettersson to be electric. There are some coming to the rink tonight or watching on TV that maybe have higher standards than I do. But I just want to see some moments that remind me that it's still there and that he's still got it.
I wonder if DeBrusk feels a little bit of pressure to stay on that line, because everybody sees the logic behind Kane on that top line too, and not that one is necessarily a better idea than the other, but Besser with Paterson makes the most sense. Those are your top two players together as a duo. That makes a lot of sense. But I think DeBrusk is debatable on the left side at the very least. I would guess he wants to prove through the preseason he deserves to be on that line. No.
Yeah, I think so. I think all players understand that no coach is going to go through an entire season with the same lineup that he ices on opening night. Sure. And whether that's injury, whether that's a lack of performance, whether he's just looking for a spark. And we see that from coaches all the time as well. So, look, Jake DeBrusk kind of got put through the ringer. If you remember the first 5 or 6 games last year, didn't get off to a great start, and by the third or fourth game, he was actually down on the third line for a short while, and then worked his way back up into the top 6, and of course was a fixture there and led the team. But I think they went through sort of that process of where is the best fit for this guy, and as we've talked about, he produced a team-high 28 goals, playing a fair bit with an under par Elias Pettersson. When I say under par, I guess I got to be careful there. Under par in golf terms would be great, but less than stellar Elias Pettersson, as I think we all know. So, it's Jake DeBrusk's spot to lose, but you've got Evander Kane, who I think at some point, and maybe it'll be opponent dependent, if they think that EP40 needs a little protection up there and somebody to create a little more space, then maybe a slot Evander Kane in for a game or two. But there's always pressure. Pressure comes in all shapes and sizes. But yeah, I think Jake DeBrusk recognizes that this is a great opportunity and probably his best chance to exceed the 28 goals that he scored last year is to find chemistry with Elias Pettersson, get them both dialed in, and get off to a better start. And the other thing, too, is remember last year the storyline around Jake DeBrusk went the first 9 games without a goal and then finally found his form out on the road. But it took him a while to score a goal here at Rogers Arena. So even in preseason, he'd probably like to light the lamp here and just get that feel and hear the crowd roar for something that he was able to accomplish on the ice here tonight.
On Evander Kane, Jeff, somebody mentioned to me yesterday he appears to be going through the motions. Now, look, I can understand a 34-year-old player coming off all those injuries and all those surgeries last season pacing himself, but this is a new team. We know how much the Vancouver Canucks need a good start. We know how much we know what management feels about practice habits. Foote has called him a culture guy. And, of course, as we all said when they made the trade, Evander is playing for the continuation of his NHL career in the final year of his contract. What have you seen from Kane? And do you think that Evander Kane does actually need to show something here with that potential first-line duty available to him?
I don't need to see a lot from Evander Kane tonight. This is his first preseason game. This is a guy that only played in the playoffs last year, so he hasn't played a lot of hockey. I had a great chat with him yesterday. Highly engaging. And we've seen that from the day that he was acquired. He talked about how he is settling in here and now thinks that he's got a pretty good read on the locker room and the personalities of the players that he's spending time with. He talked about dinners in Penticton and the fact that they got out and played at least one round of golf up there in the Okanagan. And so, I think from the summer skates to now, it's just kind of that feeling out process for him. He talked about preseason being a necessary evil at the stage of his career, and he is 34. He's been through this a bunch of times. I really do feel that there is a marked difference between the first week and the second week of the preseason. Like, I think tonight is really more about just kind of ironing out some kinks, getting the game feel, playing with a couple of youngsters that he's probably not going to play with. And the other thing, too, is we know the style that Evander Kane plays. It's aggressive, it's abrasive, and you really, as much as you want to show that through training camp and early in the preseason, I think those are things that get ramped up. You're not going to take your frustrations out on teammates in practices and scrimmage games. And so it doesn't really lend itself to Evander Kane's style of play. But now he's playing a different opponent, a legitimate NHL opponent. I think you'll see him try to be physical in this hockey game tonight. And certainly I would expect that he would protect Cootes if the heat got turned up around the rookie at any point here if the Kraken try to test him or take any liberties there. But really, I think for me, I've seen what I thought I needed to see from Evander Kane to this point. And again, I think for all those guys, whether it's Patterson, Besser, or Kane, or DeBrusk, it'll ramp up next week as we get closer to the starting gate.
On Ratu, and herein lies maybe the problem with gifting a roster spot to a guy who is not yet an NHL regular, but have heard reports that he hasn't looked all that great thus far in what we've seen in training.
Certainly
camp
not getting great
practices.
assignments for the games.
Yeah, and he tends to be getting more AHL-y line mates. What have you seen from Ratu? Do you need to see something from Ratu? Because needless to say, he's an important piece at a position of weakness for the Canucks going forward.
I don't think Aatu Ratu's ever going to stand out. Like, I just don't think he's a flashy player. And so, he had some moments in Penticton, a lot of them on the defensive side of the puck. I think that part's encouraging. But, he's never going to go coast to coast. He's not going to be the fastest guy on any sheet of ice. We know that. And I think for him, it's more about checking off the boxes of being positionally sound, winning faceoffs. Does he get a chance to kill some penalties? The line mate assignment is interesting, and I think you can read it a couple of ways. That he skated yesterday, and he had Mackenzie McEachern on one side, and then McEachern was swapped out, and it looks like Danila Klimovich is going to be on one wing and Vilmer Ulrichsen on the other. So, those two guys both seem destined for Abbotsford. Now, maybe that tells you that, as you said, Ratu and the organization understands that his spot in the lineup, just due to the nature of the position he plays, is pretty much set in stone. But for those younger guys, it's giving them an opportunity to play with a guy that looks like he's going to start the year in the National Hockey League. So if you're Vilmer Ulrichsen, you can't say, hey, they put me with a stiff that's never going to see the light of day at this level. He's getting a chance to play with Aatu Ratu. And I think, maybe it's more about his wingers and evaluating them with a guy that's on the cusp of being an NHL regular than it is on Ratu himself. So I don't think he's had a disappointing camp by any means, but he really raised the bar. He was one of the stars of training camp last year and earned that spot. Remember, Pia Suter got hurt in the preseason. Aatu Ratu played the first couple of games with the big league team right out of the gate last year. So I don't know that his camp has been at that level. In fact, I think I do know that his camp hasn't been quite at that level, but I wouldn't call it disappointing. I just think it's more of a guy that's kind of lost in the shuffle, and maybe the focus is elsewhere, and rightly so. You pretty much know what you're getting in Aatu Ratu, and I think I've seen that for the most part through the first week here of camp.
And Papa Lankinen gets the start. That's something else out of the delivery room and right in between the pipes.
Yeah, gave him a couple of days off. I think the baby arrived on Tuesday, and so it's Friday now. He's had a little bit of family time. I'm sure that the fact that he's back here around his group tells you that everything's fine on the home front, and he can focus now on stopping pucks. And again, a guy that didn't get a training camp last year, but jumped on board and carried his weight early on. This is easy street now. The hard work is probably at home with diapers and adjusting to life with a baby. This is just settling in. And so, he wasn't around the team yesterday, but when I saw him on the ice this morning, I thought, okay, that's a good sign. And then he started to do the starters drills with goaltender coach Marcus Terenius, and sure enough, it was confirmed by Brett McLean that, Lankinen's going to start. I think it's the same boat as Demko, that they're going to play it by ear. They've still got a second week of preseason. They've got a bunch of goalies here, and so it wouldn't surprise me if he gets 2 periods, and then they look. I didn't ask who the backup was. Tolopilo was on the ice this morning. He's getting a fair bit of run, and he's held up his end of the bargain and looked pretty good in the moments that he has played. So if it's Tolopilo again, if it's Ty Young getting another look after getting lit up in Seattle in the preseason opener, that wouldn't surprise me if that's the game plan tonight. 40 minutes for the starter, and then somebody come in mop-up duty.
Yeah, you almost wonder if he wasn't on baby watch, if he'd had played earlier. Read into EPD and Willander as a defense pair for me.
Yeah, some internal competition, obviously, and I think both of them recognize the situation here. I think it remains an uphill battle for Tom Willander just because of waiver situations with other guys and the fact that Abbotsford might just be the best place for him to start. And I had a great chat with him after the morning skate out in Abbey the other day, and he acknowledged that. He recognizes that, playing. And I think the other thing, too, guys, that we have to factor into this is Jet Wu is going to be out for a while down in Abbotsford. Jet Wu would eat up a bunch of minutes on the right side. He's not there. A path is clear, whether it's Willander, whether it is Mancini, to go down there and just like really be the guy and probably play half a game. And I don't think that would necessarily be such a bad thing for either of those young guys, rather than being behind a Jet Wu where now maybe you're the number 2 guy on the right side and the minutes aren't quite as available at the American Hockey League level. So Willander showed well in Abbotsford. I thought that was the best that we had seen of him through camp and the prospects tournament and or showcase. Put me on his nose because you know that I don't want to call that a tournament. But the games, those showcase games that he got into. But this will be his 5th game already, if you count the prospect showcase and the 2 preseason games. So talking about knocking off a bunch of rust, maybe he is the guy that we tried to identify earlier in the week that's going to get all these opportunities just to continue to be tested, but continue also to put his best foot forward. So I thought we saw his smarts on display positionally the other night against an undermanned Calgary team, and we'll see what he looks like here tonight. But it is interesting that is, where the young guys have been insulated for the most part, playing with a veteran. Here it is, these 2 youngsters that are basically vying for a job and have become fast friends as well. And tonight, that friendship will be tested because it's every man for himself at this level now at this stage of the competition. So,
it's a nice pairing, though. They're kind of salt and pepper, aren't they? Sure. It kind of works.
Yeah, and there were some subtle things that I thought showed Willander's hockey smarts the other night. There was one play early on in that hockey game where he was getting chased in pursuit back behind his own net for a puck, and I thought he was going to get smoked into the end boards, but he basically allowed the forechecker to push him and sort of used that as a slingshot and gained some separation, was able to wheel around the net. Before you knew it, the Canucks were up ice on a 2-on-1. Archie Baines held on to the puck. He didn't score, but that play started with Tom Willander going back to collect a loose puck, and before you knew it, they had moved it up ice quickly and were off to the attack. So, that's how he has to defend. Like, he's not the biggest guy, but he's got the smarts and he's got pretty good mobility. And I thought we saw that. And look, offensively, hit a post, picked up the assist on the Hoglander goal. So, was able to find his way onto the score sheet as well. I thought it was a really nice night for Tom Willander. But you're only as good as your last performance. And so how does he follow that up with an encore tonight? We will find out.
All right, Jeff, we'll be watching with interest. The first RinkWide Vancouver of the season postgame edition comes Wednesday after that game against Calgary. But, of course, they're also on the ice Sunday for a preseason tilt. So looking forward to Monday already and unpacking everything from this weekend in Canucks land. Appreciate this.
Yeah, we'll have a couple of games to break down by then and probably some roster moves as well. So I would think that it's probably going to be a fairly busy weekend that we'll have to break down on Monday.
So Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Just punched my microphone.
Don't do that.
The Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. I'm surviving. Officially live. If you think you've got the hockey knowledge to go the distance.
Didn't Survivor sing
it's like a speed bag
Tiger
or something? That's right. Rising up.
It all works.
This one's for you. It's a game of elimination strategy, $2,500 grand prize for the last fan standing. Here's how it works. You start with 2 lives. Each round, you pick one winner from the slate of NHL games, but here's the twist. You can only use each team twice throughout the entire contest. Get a pick wrong, that's 1 life gone. Lose twice, you're out. Pool runs until just one person is left, and that winner takes home $2,500. So, are you ready to outlast the rest? Sign up now at dailyfaceoff.com or hit the link in the show notes. May the best fan survive. You may have to even beat Jeff Merrick along the way here, who joins us now.
Don't want to beat Jeff.
From his...
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Can I embarrass myself off the start of this conversation?
We like that. We've already done that.
As Blake wonders about Eye of the Tiger and Survivor, first year university, 1990, University of Guelph. Your boy, Jeff Merrick, every day in the gym on his Sony Walkman, had a 90-minute Maxell tape. One side, Eye of the Tiger, other side, theme from Rocky. Every single day. So it was 90 minutes of Eye of the Tiger, 90 minutes of theme from Rocky.
Just looping
Yes.
the same song?
Oh.
Correct. That's how embarrassing I was.
Now,
That's how embarrassing I was.
In fairness, the film and the song were only, 15 years old at that point. So.
Oh, yeah. It was still kind of cool, but then like 2 weeks later, Nirvana happened, and this exploded the whole music scene, and no one was listening to Survivor or Whitney Houston or Huey Lewis or anything like that. It was all about grunge rock. The other thing that I want to point out to you guys quickly, I'm just sort of hijacking your show. You guys sent me down a rabbit hole yesterday that I'm still pulling out of from your last pod. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Akito Hirose and why he went to Germany. Because normally,
you're the only one, Jeff.
No, like I love stuff like this. And you guys just sort of mentioned it in passing, and I'm like, hey, you know what? That's a really good question. And so you sort of see, and he was the victim of a number crunch, and he kind of got in this spot where, he was in a sort of a mix of three different defenders, and if you had a bad game, you were out, and it was tough to get back in. But normally, I mean, you win a Calder Cup, and you're on the roster. Like, he had a really good final, as well. Normally, you can parlay that into another contract, at least with another American Hockey League team.
Right, you think?
And
right.
and the other thing about it is he still doesn't qualify as a veteran. And in the American Hockey League, the way, because there's all different types of vet rules, you have to have 12 players on the roster that have played less than 260 games in either the NHL, American League, or European Elite League, not the ECHL. So it's not as if he was going to be victim of a number crunch. Oh, we already have all of our veteran spots taken. He still wouldn't have qualified as a veteran. I'm talking to someone later on this afternoon to try to figure out, like, did anybody else call? Were other teams available? He could help a team on a power play in the American Hockey League. You got a ring coming along with it. Like, I think that it was just like a sort of an aside comment that you guys talked about yesterday. But now this has sent me down this, and I love doing stuff like this, goofy little Hirose rabbit
Akito
hole.
Hirose insider.
Jeff Merrick joins us. And
everything you've always wanted to know about Akito Hirose, but we're afraid to ask on S&P.
Let me just add a couple of, one correction, one piece of context, because our audience is much younger now. They're on YouTube, Jeff. Survivor is the artist who sang "Eye of the Tiger."
Correct.
If you're unfamiliar. And I actually forgot. "Eye of the Tiger" was not around the first film. It was on later Rocky. It was released 1992. So it was only like 8 years
was Rocky
old
3.
when you were listening.
Yeah. I was still.
Yeah.
I was still cool.
Reasonably contemporary.
My mom thought I was cool. I don't know, but my mom thought it was pretty cool hearing their son in the garage doing incline bench, incline chest press.
Guelph co-eds were like, look at that guy.
Well, hang on.
Got it going on, and he's listening to.
You know who one of them was? A very young Cassie Campbell, soon to be Cassie Campbell.
Oh, you've told us that before.
Yes, she was the star on campus.
He's got Luke Hughes info that I'd at some point like to get to.
Okay, sorry. I want to talk about the other defenseman, Hirose, the guy's playing in the DEL, and you guys want to go on about
exactly.
Luke Hughes. Okay, fine. Okay, fine, whatever. Your show.
Because he texted me this morning. I want to talk about Luke. I got something on Luke. Please, let's get into it. Luke Hughes.
Here's what I wonder. I was talking to James Nichols about this from NJD now the other day. And one of the things that I think we're all sort of wondering about here is, on the one hand, this is about Luke Hughes and the New Jersey Devils in this contract. Absolutely. There's all the sidebar stuff and conversation about Quinn and the Devils and Jack and bring them here and play with brothers and all that. But let's wonder here for a second if some of this doesn't have to do with what's happening at the agent side as well. And I'll bring up Jack Hughes and I'll bring up Nathan McKinnon, two players both represented by CAA and Pat Brisson, who, what have we said about the contracts? Man, those are value deals for those teams. Those players are, quote unquote, leaving money on the table. Like, how many times do we talk about the luxury that the Avalanche had, having Nathan McKinnon under a deal where he was making in the neighborhood of $6 million, and how much money he had left on the table? And I do wonder if now, with the salary cap going up as significantly as it is, I wonder if part of this is we want to make sure here at CAA that our players don't leave significant amounts of money on the table. We don't want our guys to be the quote unquote best value contract in the league. I wonder if that is part of this. I
think you're probably right. I'm also trying to understand this from the New Jersey and Tom Fitzgerald side of things, Jeff, because this one over here believes, and I like your take on this, the Canucks should make New Jersey a Godfather offer for Luke Hughes. Wholly overpay to get the second Hughes brother here.
Which they might hang up the phone anyhow. They might just say, absolutely not.
Tom Fitzgerald must understand that having Luke with Jack is worth more than what you would give contract-wise to a kid named Luke Smith.
Yes.
So why don't you just bite the bullet, overpay on Luke Hughes, knowing when you have the two Hughes brothers, you're going to be able or should be able to lure in the third Hughes brother at some point. Like, why would you nickel dime the Hughes family is my question here.
I don't disagree. I think that this one is a really, given how much the cap is going up, like this is a really tricky needle to thread, knowing that on the one hand, the kid needs to be adequately compensated, but you're not just compensating for what he's already done. You're still projecting, right? Like this is still there's gold in them hills out there type contract, right? You're a speculator now when you're doing this contract. The other is keeping Jack happy too. I really think like this is a situation not unlike the Tkachuks. I remember talking to Matthew Tkachuk at the NHL Players Tour a few years ago, and this is when Brady Tkachuk was going through his contract situation with Pierre Dorion, Eugene Melnyk, and the Ottawa Senators, and he said, like, look, like you have to remember, when you negotiate with one Tkachuk, you negotiate with all of us. You negotiate with Brady, you negotiate with the agent, you negotiate with me, you negotiate with my dad, and I think what Matthew was trying to say is like, I will go out there actively and lobby for my brother and lobby for his rights. And I think the Hughes brothers do it in more of a minor key than the Tkachuks do it. Like the Tkachuks do it with the volume on 11. But I think the Hughes family is the exact same way. Like you're doing a deal with one of us, you're doing a deal with all of us. And I think you guys saw the reaction at the draft when New Jersey took Luke Hughes and had the camera on Jack. Like you saw, like it was the cork just popped out of a champagne bottle. Like this is the most amazing. So I think there's a couple of different dynamics at play here with this Luke Hughes deal. I'll tell you what, I misread this situation completely. I thought of all deals, like this is going to be a restricted free agent deal that was going to get done before training camp. You have, a player who grew up in a hockey household. You have a father who's one of the wisest people in hockey, period, works at CAA. New Jersey understands exactly what's at stake here and the value of this player and how much they have invested in that family. And yes, we can even have the sidebar conversation about another family member joining, and you don't want to soil that water. So maybe as I look back on it,
he's also a 10-2C, Jeff. He can't even be official, so there's not even that drama. Like it's just straightforward, and there's no hurt feelings now because you've only missed one, maybe two preseason games. But the minute he misses a regular season game, don't you start to risk hurt feelings if you're Fitzgerald?
Well, because he's missing paychecks at that point too.
Yeah, again, like it's not good for the situation is not good for anybody, especially like older players. Okay, you can kind of understand it. Your skin is a little bit thicker. You're a little bit more cynical, more going to, dig in for your rights. There's no, and you've been in the NHL for a number of years. There's no value in young players missing training camp time. Like I understand this is a negotiation. It's a very sophisticated dance for a very elite level player in the NHL, but this does nobody any good whatsoever. But then I keep coming back to, okay, so like, what's the number? Given where the cap is at and all the other variables that come into this thing, because you're not just negotiating just a number here. You are negotiating and massaging relationships at the same time. And Matt, to your point, hurt feelings are very much a thing when it comes to negotiations. And when you're dealing with not just a player, but a family.
That's right. Let's move on.
Yeah. Can I get into Filip Chytil? You've probably seen a bunch of Eastern Conference Filip Chytil games. Do you think it has ever been said, preseason or otherwise, Filip Chytil was the best player on the ice? Because we had that the other night, and that, if you're looking for all, the smallest of branches to hold on to for Canucks fans that they might have a 2C. Do you think that's ever been uttered about Filip Chytil at the NHL level?
I mean, there were times on the kid line where it's like, wow, man, Chytil just had an awesome game. Like there were times where that line was the best line on the ice for the New York Rangers, full stop. But right now, the bar, it's kind of like when we first saw Jack Eichel coming off ADR surgery, playing for Vegas, and you're like, okay, let's see the first hit. Okay, he's all right. Oh, there's another hit. Okay, he's okay. He's not going to the bench. Like right now, it's just. And you guys had an interesting conversation about this, about how many games is too many games in the preseason. Right now, it's just get through a game, and then get through another game. And like I don't think anyone's comfortable quite yet, given the concussion history. I think they want to see more of a runway here until they start to feel comfortable. But in these scant couple of games that we've seen Chytil so far, he's performed like you want, right? A, healthy, made it through the games. B, looked impressive. I get that it's training. I get that it's preseason. We understand all of that, but all you can do is play the game that's before you, and he's played the game that's before you. He played well, and he made it through the games. Awesome. Great. First hurdle jumped over. Great.
Check 1, 2.
I want to ask him about Braeden Cootes because we may not have occasion next
Sure.
week. And Jeff so loves his junior.
I love him,
hockey
and I love this
teenage
guy.
players
I
in
love
his
this
world.
guy.
Tell me about him then.
I love him. He's fast. It's funny too. There's one person who coached him internationally who said he's the right shot Reshny. He's the right shot Cole Reshny. He said like Calgary and Vancouver both got similar players. One shoots left and one shoots right, and they both got really good guys here. I like him a lot. He's a really smart player. He thinks quick. If this were another team, I would maybe see more value. I would see the value of giving him the 9-game experience and giving him the taste. The only thing about Cootes, and he's going to be a Vancouver Canuck for a really long time. The only thing is like every game is crucial out of the gate for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know that right now, this season specifically, you want to break in kids, given how high the stakes are in Vancouver. I think in another incarnation of the Vancouver Canucks are on a different team that's in a different place in their win cycle, you might look at them and say, yeah, you know what? Let's like the Flyers did with Jet Luchenko, right? Or the Bruins did with Matthew Poitras. Like, okay, yeah, we can see if we can break a kid in here early. I don't think if you're Vancouver, you can afford that. I really don't.
Different in 19 too, right? Different in 19. Like a year from now, would it be a different?
Absolutely, I will. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jeff.
Yeah.
They're 3 and 4C are Atu Ratu and Teddy Bluger.
I understand that. But these are still professionals too. Like you're Adam Foote, you tap someone on the shoulder. You want to know what they are going like. You know what Bluger is going to do. You have a pretty good idea of what Ratu is going to do. Now, do they have as high a ceiling in their careers as right shot Reshny has? No, Braeden Cootes is going to be a much superior skilled player than these two. But if you're Adam Foote and like right out of the gate, you need wins. You need to start piling it up. You need to know what everybody's doing when they hit the ice. There's no time for guessing. But listen, great player. Okay. Great player.
We have reached the Easter egg.
Is it about Hirose? Is it about Akito
Hirose? I've been simmering on this one for 3 weeks because.
Oh, geez.
In fact, I have to go back to the 300-page notebook that I was using up until a couple of weeks ago to find my notes on this. So the theme is Canucks who went on to be captains. And do you want the easy, do you want the moderate, or do you want the difficult question here?
Do we have time to do all three? Do we have time to do all three?
Easy and moderate sort of overlap. So
okay.
If I give you one, you will know.
Go moderate. If he gets it, then we go to hard. Come on.
Okay. All right.
Get on with it.
Okay.
How many Vancouver Canucks went on to captain other NHL teams? The easy would have been give me 5 Vancouver Canucks who went on to captain.
Right. So I'm gonna say, geez, we're going back to 1970 here, boys. I'm gonna say 10.
Blake?
I'll take the under. I'll go 8.
Okay. The answer after JT Miller, 13.
Really?
13, hey?
Mm-hmm. Now, here's the degree of difficulty.
Okay.
3 former Vancouver Canucks went on to captain 2 different NHL teams.
Did Linden ever captain the?
Linden captained the New York Islanders, and
Linden
only
is
the
one.
New York
Yeah,
Islanders.
yeah.
But the New York Islanders I don't want to screw up the Easter egg. The New York Islanders feature amongst the three who went on to captain 2 NHL teams.
Oh, that is.
Wow.
And in fact, I'll give you another hint.
Okay.
The Florida Panthers feature with 2 of these gentlemen who went on to captain 2 different NHL teams.
So Vancouver first, and then the other.
Then they went on to captain 2 separate NHL teams. 2 of these guys went on to captain the Florida Panthers. 2 of these guys went on to captain the New York Islanders.
Was
None of
Roberto
them are
Luongo
named
ever the
Trevor
captain of the Florida
No,
Panthers?
none of them are named Trevor Linden or Pavel Bure either.
That one now has got me completely flummoxed because
I know.
what former Canuck was a captain of the Florida Panthers?
I was. Believe it or not, there are 4 former Vancouver Canucks who went on to captain the Florida Panthers. It's staggering, I know.
The
C in Florida.
Mind blown. I'm out. My brain doesn't work.
I don't know. Who is it?
Okay. Michael Pekka went on to captain the Buffalo Sabres and the New York Islanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian McCabe went on to captain the New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers.
But he wasn't a captain here. Didn't you have to be a captain here? That wasn't criteria?
No.
Oh, hang on. I thought he had to captain the Vancouver
I said
Canucks.
Vancouver Canucks went on to captain.
Okay.
I did not say former Canucks captains.
I
was just going through the roster of Vancouver Canucks captains and going, that doesn't.
Mike, we'll check the tape, but this one isn't on me. I believe I was clear. And Ed Jovanovski went on to captain.
See, I would have
briefly the Arizona Coyotes because Shane Doan was suspended, and then the Florida Panthers.
I would have said that because that was the first thing that came to my mind was Joe, but I'm like, he never captained the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh,
yeah. That's where I got
Did
stuck.
I make another Easter egg?
It may have been just
no.
inferred
Mike is
for
shaking
us.
his head.
I think that egg
was
was a little bit cracked. I think perhaps there was a little bit of yolk spilled.
Okay.
On this one. Great question though.
Yeah. Pavel Bure, Willie Mitchell, the other Vancouver Canucks who captained the Florida Panthers.
Wow.
Willie Longstick Mitchell.
And the full list, Pat Quinn, Don Lever, the original captain of the New Jersey Devils.
Calder Cup champion coach.
Rick Vive, the captain in Toronto before he was stripped. Garth Butcher in St. Louis. Messier after Vancouver, back to the Rangers to captain them. Pavel Bure in Florida. Adrian Aucoin in Chicago. Then Jovo, Willie Mitchell, and of course the most recent.
That's why I asked you about Linden, because I was just thinking former captains.
No.
Was it okay? Here's my question, and I ask legitimately. Maybe you guys know. Was Adrian Aucoin the last player in the NHL to use a wooden stick?
Oh, good question.
Or was it Jason Spezza? Or was Spezza's a 2-piece?
I think that's a trivia question that I've heard within the last few years, and I don't think it was either of them.
So my first year covering the league was 01-02, and the composites were like brush fire going through dressing rooms.
And no one could take a pass. No one could take a pass with them. They bounced off every blade.
I want to say Dmitry Yushkevich was on a wood stick, but I'm.
Google AI says it is widely accepted. No one knows it, but it is widely accepted that it is Adrian Aucoin.
Okay.
Oh, it is.
Full wood. That stands to reason.
Henrik Lundqvist is a goal.
Mike's chiming in on this. Of course, he's from the island. They do logging there. It was a big hit for many years that they could claim the wood in NHL sticks, and then it destroyed an industry. What are you saying?
He was the last to use a full wooden stick. Others used blades. And yes, we had the largest hockey stick in the world on the island.
That's right.
Duncan, right?
I just remember, that's where my sister lives. I just remember watching a coin. There was that stretch where he was like a shootout specialist.
Right.
You remember that? Like, he was like an 8 for 8. He went on the stretch where like Adrian Aucoin turned into UC Jokinen. He just like could not miss on the shootouts.
Great shot too.
He would do the Brian Rolston, right? He would come in and like just above the hash marks, scratch his back with the blade and let one rip. Oh yeah, he was wild to watch on the shootouts. It was fun.
Does he not still hold the Canucks record for goals in a season by a defenseman?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's the Adrian Aucoin Appreciation Podcast here. It turned into today.
Well, he was a good player.
We started talking about Akito Hirose, and now we got to Adrian Aucoin. You guys have the best show going. This show is tailor-made for me. It's like you designed this show for my ears. Like, Hirose and Aucoin, sign me up.
We aim to place Hirose, Aucoin, Don Lever, first captain
and Don
of the
Lever,
Jersey Devils.
Hamilton Bulldogs, Calder Cup
That's
champion coach, Don Lever.
Yeah, we even worked in Vive for you in Toronto and Butcher for
That's
him.
right.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a great week.
Okay, hang on. Who from that St. Louis Blues team? You know what? I'm gonna do this next. I have an Easter egg for you guys.
Yeah.
Based on what we just said. I got one for you already.
You want to do rotating Easter eggs, Merrick, where you get after us every second week. I'm down.
Well, Blake just tweaked me to something. So next week I got the Easter egg.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
boys.
Secure some price from the historic Wall Center. Cheer louder when you're rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall. Just minutes from the stadium and arena. Unlock that Secure some price rate by calling 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you. Some blackout date supply based on availability. Seattle Seahawks win on a walk-off, a win that didn't need to be a walk-off, a classic Seahawks win where all comfort is thrown out the window and you sweat the last 3 minutes because, well, Seahawks.
Just didn't execute. They had multiple opportunities to put this thing to bed, 3-score lead, maybe even a 3-touchdown lead. And they just didn't want to make life easy on themselves.
That was a difficult watch last night.
Yeah, it was not pretty.
A lot of these Thursday night football games are difficult watches. In fact, it was such a difficult watch that at 20-6, I had moved away from the game and then saw on my phone, oh my God, Arizona has a chance to tie this thing, and came back to it.
Arizona was a non-NFL team for 3.5 quarters. Mm-hmm. And then, to their credit,
the crowd in Glendale was
the booing, unbelievable.
They were some upset,
and so many Seahawks fans there too. So like it was.
Well, they won 8 in a row on the road. That's where they win now. Remember when Lumen used to be a fortress? It's not a fortress anymore. Remember when the Seahawks had all sorts of trouble having to play on the road, especially those 10 a.m. kickoffs back east? They win those games now.
Now
they lose at home in front of larger swaths of the opposing fans.
Here's the plus side. Kenneth Walker was great when they used him. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold has thrown a couple of balls.
Darnold's looked pretty good.
Like he was throwing them into a bucket on a couple of times. One on a PI in there in the end zone, which if that gets caught, it's one of the placements of the year. And then the late throw down the right sideline that puts them into field goal territory. And by the way, I wanted to get to this. So all this CFL consternation about rule changes. The NFL has made several rule changes, one of which, the most notable, is kickoffs.
Yep.
And they wanted to make kickoffs a relevant play. If the old, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Seahawks fan and I want to see the Seahawks win. The whole point is make it a relevant play.
Absolutely. Commissioner Goodell said with the old extra points that were automatic, it's not an exciting play. Our fans deserve exciting plays. And that's why they moved the kickoff back. For me, it's the single best thing Roger Goodell has done as commissioner of the National Football League. And you're seeing this year now teams getting more strategic on the kickoffs.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing more returns.
So he fails to get it in the landing zone, the 20-yard landing zone.
It's got to land from the 20-yard line to the goal line.
And he doesn't. Seahawks get great field position. And
I should say, it's got to land between for the return.
For the return,
If you kick it in the end zone, it's still a touchback.
Yeah.
Jason Myers totally redeems himself after missing a field goal with 3:20 left that would have iced it. Arizona comes back to tie, but then the illegal kickoff. Myers gets another chance thanks to the field position, 52 yards for the road win within the division. But they blow a 14-point fourth quarter lead in 7 minutes.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
And I saw you and Captain Bell were on social media. You wanted Coach McDonald to gamble on that fourth and 2 rather
CFL
than
parallel.
Try that field goal they wound up missing.
CFL parallel, we were talking about, okay, with the new CFL field goal conundrum with the new field when it comes to pass, will we see more teams go on 3rd and 2, go for it on the opponent's 35 or 40-yard line and treat it like a fourth down? Well, same goes for the NFL, which generally speaking, they've been more advanced in this and using the stats. They're in opposition territory, not deep, but middle ground, again, 35, 40-yard line. 4th and 2. You create that first down, you're absolutely into field goal range, you're absolutely threatening on a touchdown, and you're keeping the drive alive, chewing up more clock.
Yep.
They get rid of it.
Hawks are 3-1, riding a 3-game winning streak after dropping that heartbreaking opener to San Francisco. Now 4 straight outside the division, starting with Tampa at home next Sunday. NFC West leading 49ers 3-0. They host Jacksonville this weekend. Good one at SoFi. The 2-1 Rams and the undefeated Indianapolis Colts. Green Bay, Dallas in the Sunday nighter. And Taylor Swift has turned the NFL down for the halftime show.
Doesn't surprise me.
At Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, California, home of the 49ers. You see, the NFL a number of years ago went to a model where they don't pay artists to perform at halftime. Their argument is the exposure. You're playing to 100, 110, 120 million people watching on television. That's got value. And if you're Kendrick Lamar or The Weeknd or like a really big artist, not quite Taylor Swift, but a really big artist, that's worthwhile too. You are going to reach new audiences, new demographics.
It's a turbo injection to your latest album and that sort of thing. She don't need no exposure. No, she's good.
Taylor Swift wanted to own the performance, have it on her YouTube channel, presumably have it as part of her next documentary. The NFL says, no, we own the performance. And Taylor said, okay, then we're done here. Blake, it reminds me of that scene in Godfather 2 with Hyman Roth and Michael Corleone. Michael, we're bigger than U.S. Steel. Taylor, she's bigger than the NFL. There's not many people or institutions that the NFL can't get to bend knee, but Taylor Swift is one of them.
It feels kind of good to have the shield.
Oh, I love it.
Down.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, when I tell Carmen this later today, she's going to be giddy about it. So my thing is bigger than your thing, is what you're doing. Yeah. You always tell me how big the NFL is, how we have to have this full day on Super Bowl Sunday, how I have to be there. BC Lions have a big one tonight at BC Place against the Toronto Argonauts, and they will be big Montreal Alouette fans in the pregame. The Stampeders and Alouettes play the first game of a TSN doubleheader on Friday Night Football. If Montreal wins that game, the Stamps are 8-6. BC can improve to 8-7 with the win tonight, Blake. And of course, that would mean they are just a half game back of Calgary, who granted has a game in hand. They already hold the tiebreaker over Calgary based on that 29-point victory at McMahon last week. So Calgary would have the game in hand, control their destiny. But in this scenario, if they lose that game in hand, they'd be tied with BC, and they need to win their matchup here next week at BC Place by 30 points to hold the head-to-head tiebreaker. So lots on the line. We've talked about how if BC wins this game, they're up 3 on Toronto and at least 2 on Edmonton for the crossover playoff berth. Like, it would be really hard to blow it from here if they win this game. But they can also start looking up the CFL West at a potential home game, or at least the 3 seed, and stay indigenously in the West Division playoffs as opposed to have to ship out east.
Vernon Adams back under center. So, the Stamps theoretically look a little bit more like themselves.
Well, he was under center last week until he got hurt. But
sorry.
I mean, it was 28-3 early for the Lions last week. I mean, they were outstanding. The Lions also going to make a major announcement at the end of the first quarter tonight. The suspicion is it's the location of those 2 home games next season that will be displaced at BC Place for the World Cup. Team President Dwayne Vigneault has told us those will take place in British Columbia. They were just, I suspect one's going to be on the island. At least one is going to be on the island. It's the 5th annual Orange Shirt Day game for the Leos. First 10,000 tonight through the gates receive an orange shirt. Inside the concourse, you will find a Indigenous marketplace with over 20 vendors selling their products. So wear orange or get there early to get your orange shirt. And very sad news from the CFL and the Edmonton Elks, where owner Larry Thompson passes away at age 65 after complications from surgery. He had only bought the team last year.
That was privatized, remember?
That's
Community-owned team, and then he said, nope, I'll take it all.
Yeah, and our old friend Rick Lalisheur, former Lions president, former Elks or Eskimos president, was a part of that. His wife, Deb, is going to assume custodianship of the franchise now. And look, these early days, the family is still mourning, but down the road, you're going to have to ask yourself, does the Thompson family want to continue to own this franchise, or is it going to have to be sold again? I mean, just so terrible for the guy. I mean, it was a lifelong dream to, he was a season ticket holder. His family was as a kid, 65 years old. You get to watch them for 1 year. And
Before we leave the stadium thing, you're saying one game on the island. Where is that other game? Okanagan?
Well, look, I think ideally, and going back to the words of the late, great Bobby Ackles, it's British Columbia's team. It's not a Vancouver team.
Yeah.
I think ideally you would like to have a game somewhere in the interior.
Or do you go north?
Is that Prince George?
Yeah. The Okanagan gets the odd cookie dangled in front of it.
Well, the Okanagan gets, the Thompson Okanagan gets training camp.
Training camp, and they've got a lot of exposure to NHL players in the summer. Like they've had Canucks camp, as we've talked about with Penticton. PG, they've had Canucks camp once.
I don't know. Does that
I don't know.
As I think of that facility at Prince George, there is a lot of room around the field
for the temporary seating. Yeah,
yeah. Whitecaps, where Thomas Muller is back training. Joe Hall reporting he's available for selection tomorrow night in Seattle against the Sounders. The club said yesterday it was going to decide on the status of Captain Ryan Gauld, whether he's amongst the 20 players available for selection. He's been missing since March, of course, with that sprained knee capsule. But alas, it doesn't sound like he's gonna go.
Yeah, from what I understand, he will not be. He would have only been selected for the bench, obviously, but it doesn't. It sounds like this is. I was never expecting that. I saw that reporting yesterday. And I thought, "Whoa, interesting."
It seemed aggressive based on everything Jesper Sorensen and Axel Schuster had said previously.
And I don't even expect it for the Can Champ.
Well, this is why Joe Hall on our show Wednesday. She said, circle that October 5th home game against San Jose.
Yeah, it's the third last game. You got three. Then you've got 3 games, and I would quietly ramp them up, sort of 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then 30 to 45 in the last one. The rest of and then maybe he's starting ready. Maybe he doesn't. Remember, it's a best of 3. Like, it's not a one and done in the first round.
Right.
So he could ostensibly not start until game 2 of the best of 3 series.
Vancouver clinches home pitch advantage in that best of 3 first round of the MLS playoffs with a win tonight or tomorrow. They also take home the Cascadia Cup with a draw. Another day, another clinch for the Seattle Mariners. They beat Colorado. They sweep the Rockies. They are 16-1 in their last 17 ball games. And they will be one of the American League's top 2 seeds, skipping the wild card round and hosting an American League Division Series starting next Saturday, Game 1 at T-Mobile. They can still leapfrog the Jays or Yankees for the top seed in the American League, But with not that much to play for, I suspect they'll DH Cal Rowley this weekend versus the Dodgers, give him every opportunity to hit 2 more home runs to tie or even beat with 3 Aaron Judge's 62 from the 2022 season. I think they'll especially do that because, of course, Aaron Judge is his chief competition for the American League MVP this season. I would suspect their young prospect Harry Ford is going to get some run behind the plate here.
Give his knees a break from behind
Absolutely.
the plate, but let him swing away.
Yeah. And they found the fan who caught Cal Rowley's 60th home run ball and instantly gave it to a kid. They put out a bulletin on social media yesterday that they were looking for the fan. Well, sure enough, they found him. They brought him and his family down to field level for some time with Cal Rowley last night. Mike, do we have that visual? If you missed it earlier in the week when they clinched, Cal Rowley on television said, well, we might as well win the whole fucking thing. Check out his T-shirt in this photo with the fan.
It's a pho kit. That's the proper pronunciation.
Proper Vietnamese pronunciation. Not pho, but pho kit.
Mm-hmm. All the things you need
to make a
nice bowl of pho. Yeah. Pho kit.
It's an A1 T-shirt.
That is very good.
Whoever got him that in short, well done.
And the fact that he's wearing
that
I know.
Big moment. I know. Well, big moment for those fans.
Yes,
I'm not sure it's... Jays finally win, and they needed to because the Yankees won again. They risked falling out of first place entirely. Bullpen game started by Louis Varland with bulk relief work from Eric Lauer. Works beautifully.
They finally hit the ball a bit.
Well,
but only a bit. Only a bit. Like, great that they hit a home run, Matt.
A grand slam. Dalton Varsho, a grand slam when they needed it. Blew the game open. They beat Boston 6-1. In fact, if they go on to do something special in the postseason, it's not the Carter home run. It's not the Alomar home run. But it is a home run, I think, that will live in Blue Jays lore.
But it's
because
still,
they needed something to turn the tide.
It's still a game in which they finish with 7 hits. So let's not say, oh, they're out of it now. They finally had a big hitting day. Yeah. It was 7 hits.
Yeah. Bayo's a pretty good starter for the Red Sox. He walked a couple of guys to get to Varsho and load the bases for that home run. Still, life isn't comfortable yet.
No.
Jays starting Shane Bieber tonight versus Tampa, the final series of the season. The rookie, the former Vancouver Canadian, Trey Savage tomorrow. And for the moment, Kevin Gausman is scheduled to pitch Sunday's regular season finale should it decide the American League East. There is a world where the Blue Jays can clinch the American League East prior to Sunday, in which case... they may throw Gausman anyways because they'd be off.
Magic number's 3, right?
Yeah,
so they need the clean sweep today, a win for them, a Yankees loss, and then one of a win or a loss tomorrow.
But here's the thing. If the AL East is still up for grabs Sunday and they lose that game, they will be relegated to the wild card, and it means that Gausman would not be available to pitch Tuesday or Wednesday in the best of 3 wild card round. Now, would he be able to go Thursday in a deciding Game 3 on short rest? Potentially, I suppose. At that point, it's all hands on deck. And I think it is the right strategic call here. 1 win with Gausman on the mound to clinch the bye and get the longer rest till next Saturday. I think if they told them that at the beginning of the season, they say, yeah, we'd take that. Rather than trying to save Gausman for a wild card game and diminishing your chances of winning the division Sunday.
Yeah, and if it's not up for grabs, I mean, if it's not looking good, like if you lose your next 2, then
he's not,
and the Yankees win the next 2.
Then that's it.
That's it, I suppose.
Yeah,
but let me say,
if you split and the Yankees win 2, and you go into Sunday a game behind,
if you go into Sunday a game behind, do you? I mean, I hear you, but given how well that
if you're a game behind, I think it changes the equation a little bit.
Yeah,
like if you have destiny in your own hand, you absolutely start Gausman.
Yeah.
If you don't have destiny in your own hand, I don't know.
Like the bullpen game was pretty good.
Because if you felt good about the other starters, I don't think you'd give this
Well, here,
the amount of contemplation. But because Gausman has been far and away your best starter in the second half.
and because it's decision day, everybody starts at the same time, so you don't get any
No, you won't
early
get any
intel.
Right. Ryder Cup from Bethpage Black, where the revelry was on full display this morning. Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas, the first pairing for the United States, comes out co-draped in an American flag. Captain Keegan Bradley firing up the crowd with chants of USA, USA. But the Euros held a 3-1 lead after the morning foursomes. Criticisms on both sides of the 49th parallel about the television coverage. USA networks in the States, and the amount of people online saying, like, there are more commercials than there is golf. And look, I get it to a degree, and of course, USA Network is not NBC. This will change over the course of the weekend.
There's just way less golf.
Well, that's it, Blake. When you
less golf.
only have 4 matches on course, and of course, you only have 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. It takes you a full hour until you have 4 matches on course.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of guys walking up to the golf ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were just trying to cram all their commercials in early when there was less action out there on course, or if this is just a new broadcaster who is, or if they've just sold too much inventory
Matt,
and are now regretting it based on fan feedback.
It's all about content. And while we're talking rule changes, CFL, NFL, and otherwise, like, why wouldn't you just have a full field morning and afternoon starting on the first and the 9th tee, and that way you've always got action going on. More points available.
Yeah, it's a format change.
You'd be adding 8 more points to the turn.
Sorry, you're asking for what?
You don't have the whole kit and caboodle playing in this first day, right? You've only got half the teams involved in the morning and half the teams in the
So you have 8 players on course for each side.
Yeah.
So you only have 4 players in reserve for each side.
Yeah.
So you could play two more,
I guess. Yes.
So you could split it that way.
Yeah.
So you do 8. So then you'd be going though from 4 sessions to 2 sessions. You wouldn't have as long a day of action going on.
Just stagger them. Just get everybody involved on opening day because it's a Friday. It's a little bit different on a Saturday, I think.
Well, I mean, that changes everything because that changes the strategy and whatnot because the U.S. is down 3-1 now. You're probably coming back this afternoon with your bigger guns. Of course, that calculation takes place on Saturday as well. On the Canadian side, Bob Weeks tweeted this. So you will see this from time to, if you're a golf aficionado, you will see this from time to time, where Golf Channel is the indigenous broadcaster in the U.S. In Canada, it's available on TSN. So if you turn to Golf Channel in Canada when the PGA Tour action is on TSN, it will be filler timeless programming. I guess the good people at Shaw thought that this morning because they were running Jack Nicklaus documentaries on Golf Channel where that was the only outlet showing the action.
So why wasn't TSN showing it?
I don't know.
Clearly, I honestly, it feels like somebody dropped the ball here. Like, that's us.
That's what
tonight?
Bob Weeks said is like somebody looks like they have dropped the ball.
On which side, though? TSN or Golf Channel? I don't know.
I think...
You'd think Bob would know if his network was doing it.
I think it's, no, Bell was fine. Bob originally reported the same was going on with TELUS. I saw his tweet this morning. I was like, I recorded it. You're telling me I got Jack Nicklaus. No, it was fine on TELUS at my place.
Okay.
Standing room only, and they may have already sold that out too by the time you watch or hear this. The Penticton V's played their WHL home and franchise opener tonight at the South Okanagan Events Center against their rivals, the Kelowna Rockets from the other side of Lake Okanagan. V's making the jump up from the BCHL. They split their regular season weekend set last weekend across the Georgia Strait. They lost their inaugural WHL game in Victoria to the Royals, came back Saturday, beat the Vancouver Giants. at Langley. We were in Penticton last week on this day for the show, and needless to say, the people there are so excited for the jump up in class, but also, of course, this rivalry against the Rockets. Bruce Hamilton and the Rockets got to hand it to them because they could have put foot down and said, no, Penticton is our territory. We don't want a franchise there. I do understand they were rewarded handsomely, the owners of the Rockets, but they greenlit a franchise just the other side of the lake. Best of luck to the V's.
With the population boom in Kelowna, I think they're going to be okay.
I think they're going to be fun. Yeah. I think, and like,
how many Pentictoners were making
well,
the
that's
drive
it.
up?
Like, especially in the dead of winter.
Yeah.
Right? So, the Penticton side, you're going to draw from Penticton. You're going to draw from Okanagan Falls, Oliver's, all the way down to Osoyoos, whereas in Kelowna, you're going to draw from the other side. And lastly, we've been talking about this match all week, Canada versus England, before a women's rugby record crowd of 82,000 at Twickenham, the epicenter, the heartbeat of English rugby, in the World Cup final tomorrow morning. This is the second time that Canada has reached the World Cup final. They lost to England in 2014 in France. They also lost their last match to England last year right here in Vancouver, although they held a lead at halftime and blew it in the second half. England's Red Roses have won 32 consecutive matches and played in 9 of the 10 World Cup finals to date. They will have most, if not all, of those 82,000 on their side tomorrow. The Canadian women had to crowdfund up to $2 million to finance this trip. So there's a David versus Goliath element to this, only Canada has stormed through the tournament, winning each match handily, including the semifinal against the number 2 ranked Black Ferns of New Zealand, who had won 5 of the last 6 World Cups. Canada's number 3 in the world.
This is not a Cinderella run.
They were expected to be in the semi, Blake.
In the tournament, though, based on form, this is the number 1 and number 2
These are the two best teams.
Yeah.
They also have Victoria's Sophie Deguda, the 6-foot powerhouse, earning her 41st cap tomorrow. Victoria's Caroline Crossley and Vancouver's Florence Simons of UBC also in the starting 15. White Rock's Shoshana Suimanutafa.
Not bad.
Available off the bench. 8 a.m. on TSN and CTV. We've been talking about how glorious a month this September is for the sports fan. So you get up tomorrow. You get your Saturday going with some rugby and the Ryder Cup golf. Then you're into a big day of college football with some delicious matchups. The Whitecaps match tomorrow night. The NFL early on Sunday morning from Europe alongside the conclusion of the Ryder Cup. Then you get the thrilling conclusion of the Major League Baseball season before the Canucks Sunday night preseason game. A gigantic weekend of sports and lots of rain in the forecast. Time to refamiliarize yourself with the couch after a big summer of outdoor activity.
Hibernation is about to begin. I always think about this, like from the time that we're, putting this out, 8 hours, like they're probably tucking themselves in, this women's team. Like they're probably getting, like they've got that sort of like night before jitters right now. Like they're going to wake up and it's going to be World Cup final day for those women. Pretty freaking cool. I can't wait to watch that game.
Blake, we talked about it earlier in the week. How many Canadian teams have played before 82,000 people in history?
Yeah.
It'd be a pretty small number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like I don't know. I don't know.
Like men's World Cups, like Dolly and that lot at the Azteca in 86.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the Qatari stadiums held 82,000 people.
No, I don't think they did. One or two Azteca games and like just for Canadians taking part, like 1 or 2 Azteca games.
Yeah. Like football doesn't have an international arm that drives those sorts of crowds. Baseball, World Cup of Baseball, certainly not an 82,000 seat stadium.
To make sure we don't miss any, I'd say it's certainly in the top 5. It might be in the top 3.
Yeah. If you, hey, feedback to us.
If you can think of that.
If you can think of that, we'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I mean, in front, that's the first thing I saw when I saw this game was sold out and there will be 82,000 people. I thought to myself, God, how many Canadian teams over the years have actually played before 82,000 people? If you got your theories, text 778-402-9680 or at Sekerson Price on X. Results from the Redwoods poll question from Thursday. How much would the Canucks miss Nils Hoglander? A lot or a little? People said?
A little.
They said a lot.
Really?
Yeah, 52%. Errors and omissions. We were talking about Russell Wilson earlier in the week. Hall of Fame candidacy. A few things to clean up there on my side and on Blake's side. He is 15th all-time in NFL passing yards. He is 12th all-time in NFL touchdowns. You said if he got to another Super Bowl, of course he did get to another Super Bowl. They lost it on second and dumb. I think you meant if he had won another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then he's in more of an Eli Manning category.
No, but even additionally, like Jim Kelly.
You think if he got to a third Super Bowl?
Yeah, because then you've got a big set. Like again, the Jim
Kelly.
Kelly.
Jim Kelly. Kelly was one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the game for a long.
But in those 2 Super Bowl years, I think you would make the argument he certainly was top 4 or 5 in those seasons.
Not the first one. Again, the juxtaposition, the difficulty with Russell is his best individual years came after the team had its best
when it was
seasons.
more on him than
exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about the Ryder Cup and Bethpage Black, how they neutered the first hole. I said they shortened it some 40 yards. They've shortened it 33 yards. And, of course, it varies a little bit based on where you can put the tee markers, but it's down to 397 yards. So cutting the corner and getting to the green is 365, which you saw Bryson DeChambeau try on the first shot today. At the 2019 PGA Championship that Brooks Koepka won, when it was the longer hole, there were only a few guys who were even trying to cross that tree line and take as much as you could take as much as, well, today you can take as much as 32 yards off the hole, Blake, by playing it over the trees in the corner, which makes it drivable. That was not the case at the 2019 PGA Championship when it was a longer hole and only the longest hitters were trying to get a green front. So the other thing is, and I do wonder, and things were going Europe's way after the morning, but I do wonder if you'll hear another round of this criticism. Apparently the greens at Bethpage Black are like pretty flat, pretty unimaginative. Like not the typical greens that you would see for the best players in the world. And so if there aren't pin placements that are more difficult as this event goes on, I think you're going to hear Justin Rose and some of the European veterans, because they had this criticism of Hazeltine back several Ryder Cups ago. That's just too easy. It's just not challenging enough for some of the best players in the world. I realize this isn't a major field, but you're still talking about one of the top 50. You're still talking about top 50 players in the world, and so you don't want to turn it into a glorified pitch and putt.
Well, nobody would ever call Bethpage Black a pitch and putt, though. Like,
but
that's not the
rough
teeth of the
is
course.
all mowed down.
Yeah,
Blake. Johnson Wagner, the Golf Channel reporter, said as he was walking the course yesterday, he was having New Yorkers, members, people who have played Bethpage Black, say to him, it's easier than what we play on a weekly basis.
That's the criticism. Like the course architecture and how it's prepared normally has defense. You've taken away the defense.
Well, that's it. They've taken away the defense of the course, which, okay, I understand. People want to see birdies. People want to have excitement and all of that. But, I mean, for me, like a Ryder Cup should have some teeth, right?
It's a pretty tight course, though, too.
I guess you're also hoping that, things don't get so bad that a guy picks up the ball in the fairway, right? Concedes the hole. Do you have to guard against that at all? Do you have to worry about putting it in the water? And
unless you're putting it out like the USGA, no. And we know they won't do it like the USGA.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those channels, noon Pacific time, weekdays. We will take Tuesday, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, off. So we'll be back Monday. And, of course, please do subscribe to all our please do support all the community sponsors you hear us telling you about. Keep it local.